Hey guys and girls, in this video we're going to be taking a look at the Dead Space 3, the crafting of the weapons. This is a pretty big feature that of course the developers are touting for the new game. Now, it's not a new feature to be able to customize your weapons to some degree. As the developer said, you're able to, say, decrease the reload time in previous Dead Spaces or increase the damage of the weapons, that type of thing. But let's be honest, this is not exactly new in any game. Quite a few games have done that in the past. Even, say, Resident Evil 2 back in the day allowed you to customize and upgrade the custom shotgun, which was of course amazing. However, very few games allow you to actually customize your own weapons. In other words, make them from the ground up. And that's pretty much what you could do with this. There's two ways you can do this, basically. My understanding is, first are schematics. Schematics, I'm assuming you can either buy or you can probably find them scattered around the different locations. That's quite nice and good if you just want a quick fix, so to speak. However, perhaps the bigger one for most people, of course, is the ability to just tinker around and literally create various weapons themselves. So, for example, you can put a plasma cutter together with, say, a flamethrower, that type of thing. This allows a lot more customization and allow you to actually use a weapon and create a weapon system that's actually more dynamic, rather than, of course, just throwing anything together. You can actually put something together that you actually think is going to work and is going to suit you. More to the point, of course, because this game is co-op based, it allows you and your partner to create two weapons and basically put together weapons that complement each other. For example, if you guys have ever played, say, Resident Evil 5 back on the co-op side of things, you'll recall that the best way to usually play that would be for each of you to, at least early on, of course when you've fully upgraded it's a different matter, but early on particularly it's a good idea for one of you to have a long range weapon, the other one's to focus primarily on short range. It basically allows you to pretty much take on any situation, particularly as of course inventory space and everything else is fairly limited when you're first starting. Now, you are of course allowed to choose different frames, such as the compact, heavy. This of course allows you to choose different two-handed weapons or one-handed weapon, that type of thing, and then allows you to finally choose the engine. The engine is basically obviously how the weapon basically fires, whether it's electricity or say pump action. So in other words, you can choose whether it's electrical, say the plasma cutter, that type of thing. And allows you to also do other bits and pieces, such as add a secondary fire mode. So, for example, you can go with a plasma cutter and, say, a flamethrower. That's very cool. Now, I'm not going to bother to go further into that, as the developers are pretty much, explain that fairly well. Instead, I'm going to give my thoughts on it. I think it's very cool, actually. I kind of wish more games would do it. Since Isaac is an engineer, it does make sense that he has this level of customization available. After all, the fact of the matter is he's able to put together things on the fly. After all, he's basically able to make spaceships at the end of the day. I do have a few slight concerns. The first is I can pretty much imagine, obviously we'll see how it pans out, but I imagine there's probably going to be 1 to 2 designs which are going to be probably, I wouldn't say overpowered, but the best. That could be a slight concern. I'm hoping that there's, they're going to do quite sufficient testing so that one design is not going to be to the point where it renders every other design useless. The reason for that is because it removes the, actual reason to have the ability to customize this. After all, let's say, for example, you can put together a flamethrower and a plasma cutter. Obviously, I don't know this at the point because it's still in development, but let's assume that weapon is really, really good. Well, why would you have anything else? You can argue, well, you'd prefer something else, but you know what, if your ass is getting kicked on a particular boss, I can guarantee that you're going to want that weapon. It's that simple. And also, of course, because you're presumably dealing with finite resources, after all, credits are limited, and, for example, the nodes, for example, you would pick up with in Dead Space 2 are limited. So, if it's the same in this one, and of course it makes sense it is, because why would they just give you unlimited? Because that way you can just craft anything you would like. I would hope that you can't make decisions that basically lend you with really bad weapons, because, that would kind of suck. However, of course, I'm assuming there will be weapons, randomly strewn about anyway. So, worst comes to the worst, you would just be, left with a basic weapon, which of course is not upgraded, which means you would go through ammo quite quickly. However, I think most people are not going to be too much of a monkey, and I think they're going to relatively choose relatively smart decisions. After all, you can generally tell what is and what is not working. Also, in addition to that, it's fairly obvious in most Dead Space games that certain weapons are just much better for certain tasks. This allows you to create a few various options which allows you to take on various tasks yourself. And for the most part, obviously, as I said already, if you're playing with multiplayer in mind, that's good because it allows you to create two weapons which are, really good and complementary to one another. But even if you're just playing solo, if you're forever alone, it still helps because, let's face it, you can at least help to cover all your angles, and I just think it's kind of cool. I do also really like the fact that there are a lot of stats. The system seems intuitive as well, which is quite nice. I am very much looking forward to Dead Space. Dead Space is one of my favourite games, actually, of the series. I very much like the setting, and I was a bit dubious to begin with when they said it wasn't going to be set in familiar locations, but it seems to really work on this. So we're going to have to see. Anyway, I'm kind of curious on what you guys are thinking for this. Obviously, the other really good thing is that you can easily share your blueprints with one another if you're in a co-op game. So, for example, if you and Tommy, for example, bestest buddies, and you happen to play together regularly on Xbox Live, and Tommy happens to have a really kick-ass gun, he can share it with you, and that's really cool. So anyway, guys, I think this about covers everything. This is quite a short video, so please feel free to give any thoughts below, and I will see you guys soon. Bye for now.